Have you ever noticed something strange about human behavior? The moment you stop chasing someone, they suddenly start paying attention. The moment you stop replying instantly, your message somehow becomes more important. And the moment you're not always available, you become more interesting. It's almost like people value your attention more when it's no longer guaranteed. But why does this happen? Why does a little distance suddenly make someone curious about you? Why does silence sometimes speak louder than constant communication? This isn't about playing games, and it's not about manipulation. It's about understanding how the human mind reacts to attention, scarcity, and emotional independence. Because the truth is, people often don't realize the value of something until it's not easily available anymore. And in this video, we're going to explore the hidden psychology behind why stepping back can completely change the way people see you, and why sometimes the most powerful move you can make is simply choosing not to chase. One of the most powerful principles in human psychology is something called scarcity. It's simple, but incredibly influential. When something feels unlimited, people rarely think twice about it. They assume it will always be there, so they stop valuing it. But the moment something becomes limited, its importance suddenly rises. Think about attention. If someone is always available, always replying within seconds, always showing interest, their presence slowly becomes predictable, and predictable things often lose their excitement. But when that same attention becomes less frequent, when replies take longer, when you're not always present, something shifts in the mind. The brain starts to notice the absence, and humans are naturally wired to protect what they feel they might lose. So when your attention becomes less available, it begins to feel more valuable. Not because you suddenly became a different person, but because scarcity changes how people perceive your value. Silence has a strange effect on the human mind. When someone who used to be responsive suddenly becomes quiet, questions immediately begin to appear. The brain starts searching for answers. Did I say something wrong? Are they losing interest? Why are they acting different now? This reaction happens because curiosity is one of the strongest emotional triggers in psychology. The human brain dislikes unfinished stories. It wants closure. Psychologists refer to this as the Zeigarnik effect, the tendency for people to remember and think about incomplete situations more than finished ones. When communication suddenly becomes less predictable, the mind tries to fill in the missing pieces, and that uncertainty creates mental tension. If you stop constantly explaining yourself, stop constantly chasing, and stop trying to prove your attention, you create space for curiosity to grow. And once curiosity takes hold, the other person often begins thinking about you far more than before. Because sometimes the questions silence creates are stronger than anything words could say. Many relationships quietly run on an invisible system of validation. It shows up in small signals, attention, quick replies, compliments, reactions, and consistent interest. These little behaviors send a simple message to the other person: you matter, you're important. Over time, when someone receives that validation regularly, it stops feeling special. It becomes normal, expected, almost like a routine. And once something becomes a routine, people rarely question it. But the moment that validation suddenly disappears, the brain reacts. Psychologically, it feels like a reward that has been taken away. And humans are naturally driven to restore lost rewards. So when someone notices the attention they once received is no longer there, their mind becomes alert. They start wondering why things changed. That's why people who once seemed distant sometimes begin reaching out the moment you stop chasing. Not necessarily because their feelings instantly changed, but because they suddenly noticed the attention they were used to receiving is gone. Another powerful reason distance can make people chase you is that it signals emotional independence. When someone is always available, always eager to respond, always trying to keep the connection alive, it can unintentionally send the message that they need the other person's attention. And neediness, even when it's subtle, often weakens attraction. But when someone is comfortable living their life without constantly seeking validation, the message completely changes. It shows confidence. It shows self-respect. It shows that their happiness and identity are not dependent on someone else's approval. That kind of independence is powerful because people naturally respect individuals who value their own time, energy, and emotional space. When you're busy building your own life, focused on your goals, passions, and growth, you stop chasing attention, and that confidence becomes noticeable, not because you're trying to impress anyone, but because true independence quietly communicates something very attractive. You choose connections. You don't depend on them. Human psychology also contains something powerful known as the pursuit instinct. Deep down, people enjoy the feeling of earning something. When attention is always guaranteed, always available, and always easy to access, the mind doesn't feel the need to work for it. And when there's no challenge, interest often fades. But the moment something becomes uncertain, the brain reacts differently. It shifts into pursuit mode. Think about how people approach games, challenges, or competitions. The reward feels more exciting when it requires effort. The same instinct can appear in social interactions and relationships. If someone believes they already have unlimited access to your attention, they may slowly stop appreciating it. But when your attention becomes less predictable, when it's no longer constantly available, the brain starts to notice the difference. Suddenly, regaining that attention feels like a small victory, and that sense of challenge can make the connection feel more exciting again. One of the most common mistakes people make in relationships is over-availability, replying instantly every single time, always starting the conversation, always being the one trying to keep the connection alive. At first, it may feel like you're being kind, supportive, or attentive. But over time, something subtle begins to happen. Your presence becomes predictable. And when something becomes completely predictable, it slowly loses its sense of excitement. Mystery disappears, curiosity fades. The emotional tension that once made interactions feel interesting begins to fade away. Because attraction often lives in a space between connection and curiosity. When someone knows they can have your attention at any moment, it stops feeling special. That's why creating a little space isn't about playing games or ignoring someone out of ego. It's about maintaining a healthy balance, a balance between closeness and independence, between presence and absence, between giving attention and allowing space for someone to miss it. Here's something important to understand. There's a big difference between power and manipulation. Ignoring someone should never be used as a strategy to punish people or make them feel insecure. That kind of behavior often creates toxic dynamics rather than healthy connections. The real power of distance doesn't come from trying to control someone's emotions. It comes from something much simpler and much healthier, living a full life. When you're focused on your goals, your passions, your personal growth, you naturally become less available, not because you're trying to play games, but because your time and energy are valuable. And when your life is meaningful and busy, your attention becomes meaningful too. People can sense when someone has purpose and direction. In those moments, your attention stops feeling ordinary. It starts feeling intentional. And intentional attention always carries more value than attention that is constantly available without limits. Here's the truth many people misunderstand. People don't chase silence. They chase value. Silence simply reveals that value more clearly. When someone realizes your attention is not unlimited, when they see that your time and energy are selective, they begin to view that attention differently. It starts to feel more meaningful. But the real reason people become drawn to someone isn't just distance or quiet behavior. It's the qualities behind it: self-respect, confidence, emotional stability, and a life that feels full, purposeful, and independent. When someone sees that your world doesn't revolve around their approval, it changes the dynamic. Your attention no longer feels automatic. It feels intentional. And intentional attention feels valuable because when attention comes from someone who respects themselves and values their time, it no longer feels like something guaranteed. It feels like something earned. And that's what often makes people start chasing it. So the next time you feel the urge to chase someone's attention, pause for a moment. Take a step back and ask yourself an honest question. Are you trying to earn someone's interest, or are you slowly forgetting your own value? Because when we constantly chase attention, we unknowingly send a message that our worth depends on someone else noticing us. But the truth is, real confidence works the opposite way. The moment you stop chasing validation, the moment you stop trying to prove your worth, and the moment you start focusing on building your own life, everything begins to shift. Your energy changes. Your presence changes. And people notice that change, not because you demanded their attention, but because you stopped needing it. When someone sees that your time, focus, and attention are directed towards your own growth, they begin to respect it. And sometimes the people you once tried so hard to impress suddenly start paying attention because confidence, independence, and self-respect naturally draw people in. So remember this: you don't need to chase attention to be valuable. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is value yourself enough to walk your own path. And in many cases, that's exactly when people start walking toward you.